Hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here as we explore the fascinating world of tooth anatomy and staining. The title of our session is Module 2, Tooth Anatomy and Staining, and today we'll be covering some key topics, starting with patient assessment and stain development. We'll look into what causes discoloration, understand the structure of teeth, and delve into their anatomy and physiology. I look forward to sharing insights that will help you better understand how to evaluate and address staining in dental practice. Let's get started. Today, we're going to focus on mastering the fundamentals of tooth anatomy, which is essential for any dental professional. Understanding the basic structure of teeth helps us better assess and diagnose issues. We'll also explore the common causes of discoloration, so we can identify and address them effectively. Lastly, I'll guide you through developing the skills needed for accurate patient assessment and determining whether a treatment is suitable. These skills are crucial for providing personalized, effective care. Remember, these concepts form the foundation for everything we do in clinical practice, so mastering them will significantly enhance your ability to deliver quality dental care. Let's take a closer look at the basic tooth structure. At the very core, we have the pulp, which is soft and vascular. This part is essential because it keeps the tooth alive by supplying nutrients and nerve fibers. It's like the heart of the tooth's vitality. Moving outward, we encounter the dentin. This makes up most of the tooth structure. It's calcified, which means it's hardened and semi-organic, giving it strength and flexibility. Dentin forms the bulk of the tooth, providing support to the outer layers. Now, the outermost layer is the enamel. It's the hardest substance in the human body, serving as the protective shield for the underlying tissues. Understanding these layers helps us appreciate how each part plays a vital role in maintaining the tooth's health and functionality. Let's take a closer look at the properties of enamel. First, it's important to understand that enamel is quite susceptible to acid erosion and wear. This vulnerability makes it prone to damage from acidic foods, beverages, and even some oral bacteria. Enamel is unique because it lacks living cells, which means it can't repair itself once it's damaged or worn down. Unlike other tissues in the body, it doesn't regenerate naturally. Now, on the bright side, enamel is primarily composed of about 96% hydroxyapatite crystals. This high mineral content gives it its hardness and durability, which is essential for protecting our teeth. When we consider the overall characteristics of enamel, its strength and resilience are key features, but we must also recognize its limitations, especially its vulnerability to acids and inability to self-repair. Understanding these properties helps us appreciate the importance of proper oral hygiene and preventive care to preserve the integrity of this vital tissue. Let's take a closer look at some fundamental aspects of clinical anatomy related to enamel and whitening. First, the color of the enamel is actually influenced by the underlying dentin, which can impact how the tooth appears. Now, surface porosity plays a crucial role too. It determines how well whitening agents can penetrate the enamel. Think of it like tiny channels that allow the bleaching agents to reach deeper layers. Enamel itself is naturally translucent, meaning light can pass through it to some extent. This translucency is key because it affects how whitening treatments will look and how effective they can be. When we discuss enamel and whitening, we're essentially exploring how the structure and properties of enamel influence the outcomes of whitening procedures. Understanding these fundamental principles helps us better predict how whitening will work on different patients and how to optimize the results. So, in summary, the color is influenced by what's underneath, and surface porosity controls how well whitening agents can do their job. Both are vital for achieving a brighter, more aesthetic smile. Now, let's take a closer look at the composition of dentin. First, it's essential for fluid movement within the tubules, which plays a key role in the tooth's sensitivity and health. When we examine its makeup, we see that about 10% of dentin is water. This water helps maintain the tissue's vitality and flexibility. Moving on, the main component is a collagen type I matrix, making up most of the organic part. This collagen provides the dentin with the necessary flexibility and resilience, allowing it to withstand various forces without cracking. Then, about 20% of dentin is organic material, primarily hydroxyapatite. This mineral gives the tissue its structural strength and rigidity, supporting the overall framework of the tooth. Finally, the largest portion, around 70%, is inorganic material, mainly hydroxyapatite crystals, that give dentin its hardness and durability. So, in summary, the composition of dentin is a finely balanced mix of water, organic collagen, and inorganic minerals, all working together to provide strength, flexibility, and the ability to support the tooth's function effectively. Now, let's take a closer look at the sensitivity mechanisms involved during whitening procedures. First, at the stimulus level, external factors like temperature changes or chemical agents reach the dentin, triggering a response. This is the initial point where the process begins. Moving on to fluid flow, when these stimuli reach the dentin, they cause movement within the tiny tubules. That movement then activates nerve endings located nearby. Next, the perception stage occurs where the brain interprets these signals as sharp pain. And finally, hypersensitivity happens during whitening because this process can intensify these responses, making patients feel more sensitive than usual. Understanding these steps helps us better manage and minimize discomfort during whitening treatments. The dental pulp requires protection during procedures because it's a delicate tissue that can easily be damaged. If exposed or injured, it becomes vulnerable to irreversible inflammation, which can lead to more serious issues like pulp necrosis. This makes understanding its role crucial in dental treatments. The pulp is responsible for essential functions such as providing nutrition to the tooth and defending it against infections. It acts as the tooth's vital core, containing important structures like blood vessels, lymphatics, and nerves. These nerves are primarily from the trigeminal nerve, which explains why tooth pain can be so intense and localized. Recognizing the importance of the pulp helps us appreciate why preserving it during dental procedures is so vital for the overall health and longevity of the tooth. Let's talk about some lifestyle factors that can impact the appearance of your teeth. First, oral hygiene plays a crucial role. When plaque and calculus build up around the gum line, they trap pigments, which can lead to staining and discoloration over time. That's why regular brushing and professional cleanings are so important. Next, alcohol consumption can also affect tooth color. Alcohol has chromogenic properties, meaning it can cause staining, and it often has an acidity that can erode the enamel. When enamel is weakened, it becomes more porous and absorbs stains more easily, making discoloration more likely. Finally, tobacco use is a major factor. Nicotine and tar in tobacco create deep, stubborn stains that are often brown or yellow. These extrinsic stains are difficult to remove and can significantly impact the overall appearance of the teeth. Overall, these lifestyle choices, if not managed well, can contribute to discoloration and affect your smile's brightness. Maintaining good oral hygiene, moderating alcohol intake, and avoiding tobacco are key steps to keep your teeth looking their best. Let's take a closer look at some common dietary factors that can contribute to staining. Berries and sauces are popular because they contain natural pigments called chromogens, which can easily stick to tooth enamel. Dark sodas are another culprit, not only because of their color, but also due to their acidity, which can weaken enamel and make staining more likely. Red wine is well known for its deep color and tannins, both of which can cause staining over time. Coffee and black tea are also significant because they contain chromogens and tannins as well, which can lead to discoloration if consumed frequently. The key concept here is that these foods and drinks have chromogens, those pigmented molecules, that can attach to your teeth. Understanding these dietary causes is crucial because they play a big role in the overall picture of tooth staining. By being aware of these factors, we can better advise on how to minimize their impact, whether through moderation, proper oral hygiene, or other preventive measures. This all ties back to our overall goal of maintaining a bright, healthy smile by managing both external and internal factors that affect tooth color. Let's talk about tetracycline and its effect on developing teeth. When tetracycline binds to calcium during tooth development, it can cause permanent changes in the dentin. Specifically, this results in irreversible gray or brown bands that you might see within the tooth structure. These discolorations are intrinsic, meaning they originate from within the tooth itself, not from surface stains. It's important to note that certain other drugs can also cause similar permanent intrinsic discoloration. This highlights the significance of understanding medication history when evaluating tooth discoloration. So, in summary, medications like tetracycline, when taken during critical periods of tooth development, can leave a lasting mark, literally, through these characteristic discolorations. And recognizing this helps us better diagnose and manage these cases. Let's take a closer look at how stains accumulate over time and their effects on teeth. When we talk about cumulative stains, we're referring to the way stains build up gradually, affecting the overall appearance of the enamel. One key aspect is enamel thinning, which naturally occurs with age. As the enamel becomes thinner, the underlying dentin, which is darker and more yellowish, becomes more visible. This leads to dentin darkening, giving teeth a more aged and less vibrant look. This process is part of the aging effect on teeth, where not only do stains accumulate, but the natural changes in the structure of the tooth itself contribute to color shifts. These age-related color changes are important to recognize because they can influence how we approach whitening or other cosmetic treatments. Understanding these cumulative effects helps us appreciate why teeth may change color over time and emphasizes the importance of early intervention and proper care to maintain a healthy, bright smile. Let's talk about the mechanisms of stain formation, starting with chemical bonding. Covalent or ionic bonds form between pigments and tooth minerals, which basically means that these pigments can attach strongly to the tooth structure through these types of chemical interactions. This bonding helps the stains persist over time, making them more resistant to removal. Next, we have penetration. This is when molecules infiltrate the tiny spaces within the enamel, like microporosities, and also enter the dentinal tubules. Think of it as the stains seeping deep into the tooth, making them more difficult to clean off just from surface cleaning. Then there's adsorption, where pigments adhere to the pellicle layer on the enamel surface. The pellicle is that thin film of proteins and other molecules that naturally forms on teeth. When pigments stick to this layer, it creates a superficial stain that can often be managed more easily, but it still contributes to the overall appearance of discoloration. All of these mechanisms, bonding, penetration, and adsorption, work together to explain how stains form and become embedded in the tooth structure. Understanding these processes helps us develop better strategies for stain prevention and removal, which ties back to our overall goal of maintaining optimal oral aesthetics and health. Let's talk about the different types of tooth discoloration. First, we have deep-seated discoloration within the dentin or enamel structure. This kind of staining is often quite embedded, meaning it requires more prolonged treatment or restorative solutions to effectively address it. These stains are not just surface level, they are beneath the surface, which makes them a bit more challenging to treat. Next, we have intrinsic stains. These are stains that are embedded within the tooth structure itself, often caused by factors like trauma, aging, or certain medications. Because they are within the tooth, surface whitening treatments might not be as effective, and we may need to consider other options. On the other hand, extrinsic stains are surface-level discolorations caused by external factors like diet and lifestyle. Coffee, tea, red wine, tobacco, all these can stain the outside of the teeth. The good news is, extrinsic stains usually respond well to professional cleaning or whitening agents, making them easier to treat compared to intrinsic or deep-seated stains. Finally, understanding the staining patterns can help us determine the best treatment approach. Recognizing whether stains are superficial or embedded helps us tailor our strategies to achieve the best aesthetic results for our patients. Let's take a closer look at some of the factors that influence stain accumulation on teeth. First, surface conditions play a significant role. Enamel defects and microcracks can create areas where stains are more likely to adhere and linger. Next, hygiene is crucial. Effective plaque removal helps minimize the buildup that can trap stains and make them more persistent. Exposure is another key element. How often and for how long teeth come into contact with staining agents directly impacts stain development. Lastly, the rate and depth of staining are not just random. They are influenced by both behavioral habits and biological factors. Understanding these interconnected factors helps us better address and manage staining, fitting into the broader goal of maintaining optimal oral health and aesthetics. Let's take a closer look at slide 16, which covers shade guides, digital imaging, and assessment scales as clinical assessment tools. These tools are essential in our practice because they help us evaluate and communicate about our patients' dental conditions more accurately. Shade guides, for example, are used to match the color of restorations to the patient's natural teeth, ensuring a seamless and natural look. Digital imaging has revolutionized our diagnostic capabilities, allowing us to capture high-resolution images that can be analyzed in detail and shared easily with patients and labs. Assessment scales, on the other hand, provide standardized ways to measure and document clinical findings, making our evaluations consistent and objective. All of these tools play a vital role in supporting our clinical decisions and enhancing patient outcomes. They help us deliver more precise, personalized care, which is at the heart of our overall treatment goals. Now, let's talk about assessing oral health, history, and expectations. When evaluating a patient's suitability for treatment, it's important to look at their overall oral health status. This includes their current dental condition, any existing issues, and their ability to maintain oral hygiene. Understanding their medical history is also crucial because systemic health can impact dental treatments and outcomes. We want to identify any underlying health conditions or medications that could influence the procedure or healing process. Additionally, exploring the patient's expectations helps ensure that we're aligned on what's achievable and realistic. It's about setting clear goals and understanding their motivations so we can tailor our approaches accordingly. All these components, oral health, medical history, and expectations, are interconnected and essential for a comprehensive suitability evaluation. This step ensures we deliver safe, effective, and personalized care that meets both clinical standards and patient satisfaction. Let's take a moment to discuss some important contraindications and precautions. Firstly, pregnancy and lactation are generally advised against when considering certain procedures, mainly because we have limited safety data in these areas. So, it's crucial to exercise caution and evaluate risks carefully. Moving on, patients under 16 years old require special consideration. Their developing bodies and teeth may respond differently, so we need to be extra cautious. Exposed dentin or roots are also a concern. These areas are more sensitive, and treatments can cause discomfort or damage if not handled properly. Unfilled cavities or decay represent active areas of infection or deterioration. Proceeding without addressing these issues might exacerbate the problem or lead to further complications. Active periodontal disease is another key factor. When gums or supporting structures are inflamed or infected, certain treatments might worsen the condition or be less effective. Finally, we have what are called absolute red flags. These are the contraindications where proceeding could pose serious risks. Recognizing these helps us ensure patient safety at all times. Overall, understanding these contraindications ensures we make informed decisions and prioritize patient safety throughout their care.